Welcome to Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more, it is my absolute honor to have back my first victim in the interview chair, Mr. Vince Ditrich from Spirit of the West. Not only a great band, my favorite band, also an author. Two amazing books with a third one on the way, which
Third one,
you already have a copy of. Oh, yes.
yeah, I've got the advance. What with me
Yep.
having written it and all, they give me one first.
Yeah, why do you get it first? You wrote the thing. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know everybody else should get it first.
For
No,
sure.
this is my. I get a little box of gift ones that I can give away to family and stuff,
Oh,
and this
good.
is one of those. And here it is, the
So is
Vicar
that
Vortex.
that's the final one?
Yep, the Vicar Vortex.
Excellent.
It comes out Feb 27th in Canada.
Excellent. Can't wait to get my hands on a copy. I got my two other books at Indigo, so I'm guessing they'll be there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Indigo chapters have been very good to me, and
yeah.
you can get it on the Jungle website too, or direct from Dundurn Press in Toronto.
Hmm.
Um, any major bookstore, any smaller bookstore will order it in, no problem.
Okay,
So
excellent.
it's widely available in Canada.
So overall, how's the experience? How would you rate the experience of putting these three books together?
It was a very uh, it was a very satisfying experience, except that I found that although there are many similarities to making a record to making a book,
Mhm.
those two things are very similar. The the level of instant feedback and the speed at the construction of a book is just it's so small, or rather so slow. Sorry, my brain. It's so slow. You know, you write a book, you start a year before you submit the the manuscript to the publisher. I was going to say the producer, uh, the publisher, and then they go through their multiple layers of editing. It just takes a really long time, and you
Yeah.
sit, and weeks go by, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, and you get the read back from the publisher, and you go, oh, okay, dive back in and do changes and corrections and updates and edits and culls, and it's so slow as opposed to going into a recording studio. You walk in, somebody plays you a rough track, you make up a little chart, you play the damn thing, and you're done.
Yeah.
You're done that day. You're done.
How long
So
were the ideas bouncing around for these books before you actually started putting the on paper?
um, I'd say a year of serious conjuring.
Right.
Yeah, and it all came out of a silly conversation with my family. I think it was at Thanksgiving some years ago.
Hmm.
We were just having dinner, and then afterwards we chatted about this Andy from Mayberry kind of vibe, the family itself, these different characters within Andy from Mayberry. Oh, he's the barber, Floyd the barber, and whatever. And I thought, if I could take this impulse and turn it into something with more impact and less off the cuff silly, I mean, it was just a silly family thing.
Right.
It could work because Vancouver Island has this kind of charm. I'm sure PEI does too.
Hmm.
Tiny village charm. And, it is now 2024, and society has changed a lot from 1959 or 1962. There are a
Yeah.
lot of changes. And it's hard for some of us to keep up with the changes. Even people in their 30s and 40s are starting to lag behind
Yeah.
because things are changing so rapidly and costs are going up so terribly.
Hmm.
And life is just more complicated than it once was.
For
Everyday
sure.
life. And so I thought I would try and take that and then add in all the bizarre decades of madness that I experienced as a professional musician. And I mixed it all up in my mental mixing bowl, and out it came. And so it's a
Just
combination of extreme bizarre gallows humor and adventure and ridiculousness, just real absurdity and darkness, deep darkness, and a lot of hilarity. It's a jumbled up mess, and that's kind of like what my life is all about. A lot of highs and lows.
yeah. I've read some of the first book. I got to be honest, I haven't gotten through the second one yet, but I really like the way you phrase things. Like your writing really does paint a picture, and I really like the picture you paint with the words you use and stuff like that. I really, from what I've read so far, I find it quite not like anything else I've ever read.
Yeah, I
And
think I might have a particularly very visual style. I mean, my intent was when you read it, you should be able to see the show. You
yeah,
know, in your mind, you're watching the TV show. And that specifically was an intent of mine. So I tried to make it punchy and short, episodic, as funny as I could, condensing the funny down into smaller things. You
no, a
know,
lot of the characters and the stories, like in a lot of the incidents you write about in the book, is it made up of things you've come across when you were touring around and recording and you know
yeah.
doing that creative process with the music too? Like, did that have a lot of input into what you put into the books?
Well, I survived all those years of being on long before Spirit, by the way.
Yeah,
Uh, I survived by seeing things through the lens of absurdity because it was absurd. It was
yeah,
insane. Some of the stuff that I went through that seemed workaday and everyday normal for these people, I'd watch them and go, "Am I even on Earth? This is insane." And so I kept all of this in my noggin, and I really tried to inject that into the storytelling because most of what's in the book is stuff that I have either participated in or witnessed. And then there are a few moments in the book where it's just my imagination and it's written, it's out of whole cloth, so to speak. But yeah, much of it is based on my life and my experiences. And some of the more bizarre things in the book, they're the ones that are based on my experiences.
that's awesome. I can't wait to finish reading the rest of them. Um, but yeah, I actually there was something I saw recently about somebody put some, it was a meme on the internet and it said something about how glamorous it is to be a touring musician. And there was four pictures. There was one of a greasy diner, a really dirty gas station bathroom. And I was just like, yeah, it's real glamorous.
Oh, the glamour.
Yeah.
I remember John Mann from Spirit. It was about, I'd say, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we stopped in. Oh, what is that place called with the big thermometer in Ontario? White River?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. Northern
White River.
Ontario for sure though.
Yeah, and it was like a Husky or some sort of,
Yeah. Truck stop.
restaurant that was not a great restaurant. And it was
Yeah.
late at night in a 24-hour restaurant. And I'm stumbling off the tour bus and we're going to get some food. And we sit down and I said, whatever, the sandwich, burger, whatever. And John sits down and he goes, "I would like to have penne with pesto." And I looked at him, Jesus, Johnny, look out the window, man. Where we are, it's the middle of winter. And he had to describe what pesto was to the chef. And the chef basically just poured oil and put some grass clippings or something. I think it was oil and grass clippings on his plate over some overcooked penne. And he's eating it and he's just going, "This is terrible." And I went, "Duh." He always lived in hope that he was going to find a great meal at a gas station.
Oh, it's like that classic Chevy Chase joke from Vacation. Hey, give me that sandwich we bought at the gas station. I'm so hungry I could eat a sandwich from a gas station.
Very much that. Yeah, it was not glamorous much of the time. It could be a lot of fun, but that's where the black humor comes from,
Oh,
you
for
know.
sure.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll never forget is the first time I ever saw you guys play. It was at the Festival of Friends in Hamilton at that old band shell in Gage Park in downtown Hamilton. And I remember
Oh, yeah. Okay.
one of you guys made a comment because off behind where the audience was, there was a Tim Hortons booth. And one of you guys said, that's the one thing that keeps Canada together when you're on the road is Tim Hortons.
That would have been Jeffrey that said that for sure, because that is kind of the thing. It's a safe place. It's the only place you can get something that's the same as the last time you got something, you know.
Yeah. for
Because
sure.
all this experimental food, it can be pretty disheartening after a while. After 6 weeks out there, and every sandwich is increasingly bad in its own unique way.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can sometimes you go, Timmy's, let's go to Timmy's. We know it's not going to be great, but it's exactly the same as the last
but we know what it is.
one. Predictably average.
We know the coffee sucks, but we know what it's going to be. So,
It's
uh,
safe. You probably won't get ptomaine poisoning.
now you're going to be going out and promoting the book when it comes out. Are you going to be doing some
Yeah,
traveling
I will
around,
be doing
or
some of that. I'm going to start at home here and do a big tour up and down the island, Vancouver Island, and
okay?
I'm just dealing with that right now, and I don't know if I'm going to start in the south and work north or vice versa. But I will do some in stores and autograph sessions and things like that.
Because I
Hopefully,
remember the last book came out, you did a chat with Jan Arden, which I heard it was really good.
yeah, it did go well. She's very talented at doing the interviews, and she's a good talker, Jan. She's very, very talented. So
Definitely.
it was just sort of like having a coffee clutch with a pal. She makes it so easy.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I'm trying to go with here. It's just like, you know, chatting, not serious pressure or anything like that. Just kind of,
You need a mascot, Alan.
I do actually. I do
Yeah, like a
actually.
dog. Do you have a dog?
I do have a dog actually.
Bring him in.
She's a one-eyed old English bulldog. I should bring her in there.
Oh, yes.
I should totally
Why
do
are you
that.
not doing that? Up in a
Yeah,
chair, put her right beside you, and she can be your sidekick.
I made a logo
Does it
for the
involve an English
it
bulldog?
no, it involves a maple leaf actually. You can see it on it's a license plate above my
See it
finger.
there. See it there.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I made that. I had enough talent to make that, I guess. Speaking of talent, are you working with any talent? You had me connected with
Travis
Travis
Matthews.
Matthews, and that was a
Yeah,
good experience. He's a
yeah, I'm
really
sure it
talented up
was.
and comer. Um,
He's brilliant, brilliant. No, I've been doing no music at all. I've been writing this book and prepping for the promo and working towards a television series
excellent.
based on all three.
Any idea what format you'd be on? Would it be like a maybe a Netflix or Crave or something along those
It's,
lines?
it's early enough days that we're not certain who's going to pick it up,
Right.
or if it will be picked up. I'm going to be positive and say who is going to pick up this magisterial work of literature. Yeah,
Right.
no, I don't know where it's going to live, but I think probably on a streamer, and it
Okay.
will probably be episodic. Like 8 or 10 episodes per book. That's my
Oh,
guess.
okay. So not like a whole movie or anything like that. Just
Well, that's
like
also a feature film is possible,
oh, that'd be cool. Because I
but
don't know if you've heard of there's a fellow here in PEI that's been making movies on his own. Jeremy Larder.
no, I
Um,
haven't heard of Jeremy.
he started making a YouTube show, but it's very localized. Like a lot of the stuff, if you've never been or lived in PEI, you might not get some of the humor. But his latest movie is called Who's Your Father? It's very funny if you get a chance to see. I don't know if it's gotten out to Vancouver yet. It got to
I
Toronto,
haven't heard about it myself, but I live in a cave,
but
so
it's yeah, I think it's online now. If you ever find it, it's actually quite funny. It's about a private investigator on PEI, the only private investigator on PEI, who's hired to find out a guy who's selling black market lobsters. It's, right away, that's funny. So, but
it is. It's immediately.
but I
It's
can
right
see
up there with.
I can see your books doing that in a theater, like having that kind of, you know,
Yeah, the hope is to be able to translate the humor onto screen
yeah,
through a director and a production company who understand what I'm trying to do with the humor, which
right.
is which is to use our humor to Canadian humor is fantastic,
Oh, for sure.
but too often it gets broadcast or presented as overly self-deprecating and Bob and Doug,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. And they did it. I loved it when it came out 45 years ago, but it's time to show how clever we are, how subtle we can be, and how deliberately not subtle we can be.
yeah,
We're a very funny culture. Uh, we need a new, fresh take on that as an
Right.
expert from this country.
Like I thought Corner Gas was brilliant.
Yeah, and Brent's a very funny guy.
Yeah, like and it wasn't really it was very clever humor, I thought.
Yeah, he's got a way of thinking, and uh it's just it's really down to earth,
Yeah.
and just calling bullshit constantly.
Oh,
It's
it
like,
was it was such a
why are you
funny
putting
show.
on the airs there, Hollywood? And
Yeah.
much of my work is similarly grounded, but not quite as folksy.
Or even Schitt's Creek. Look what
Now,
that show
Schitt's
did.
Creek, that's top of the pops there.
Yeah,
You're,
like I mean,
it's hard to beat that crew of people for being creative and being really good at what
absolutely.
they do. That's a spectacular. Uh, it's a combination of people and material that is
Yeah.
undeniable.
And it's I'm really glad it saw the success it did
Me
before they
too.
stopped doing it. Like it was really good. And I'm hoping that happens with whatever they do with your books. I really hope to see that.
Yeah. Well, you and me both.
Yeah, maybe Eugene Levy will get on board. I don't know. That'd be
Well, believing that's been discussed. Dan,
Oh,
Dan,
Dan, yeah, he's
yeah,
very
that's definitely been discussed, but we haven't approached him yet, and we may never, but we may. So,
okay,
but I mean, yeah, a comedic mind of that caliber,
for
eh,
sure.
you just have to look at that as a hope.
And you see it runs in the family, obviously, with whose dad is. So
Well, I mean, as far as his dad and his dad's compatriots, they're like the royal family to me.
yeah.
All the SCTVs, they're
Yep.
princes and princesses of that realm.
Oh, absolutely. Like that's yeah, I still come up with SCTV quotes out of my head in everyday life just by accident without even
Dude,
thinking about it. Like,
it's completely a part of my lexicon too. I mean, I grew up with it. I was 17, 18 years old when that was on TV, and it was so large in the minds of me and all of my musical friends. We talked
yeah.
SCTV all the time. We were doing the characters. We'd go up in a restaurant and order as one of the guys.
The
Oh,
half
William B. William B. You know?
the half wits. Yeah. That was always my favorite. I've got some tools out in the car, Alex. I can fix that for you. That one was always my favorite. But
Well, we use that, and comedy has always been a big part of my life, but of all musicians just love comedy.
I just realized you were on the Super Dave show
I was on Super Dave twice.
because I saw you. I was watching a rerun on one of the channels here, and I was like, "That's Vince on the drums back there." It was Sue
Yeah,
Medley,
yeah, I was with Sue, and then I did one with Doug and the Slugs.
right? Oh, you did play with Doug and the Slugs for a while.
I did. I did about 2 years with Doug.
Did you catch the documentary CBC did?
Yes,
And
yes.
how did you feel? I thought it was really well done. I really liked the approach they gave it.
I thought it was really well done. I couldn't help but notice the absence of me.
But still,
I would
the
have
idea that
liked.
it was done from the focus of the next door neighbor's daughter that grew up next
Yeah,
to them,
it was good. It was
that was
very
really,
good. Yeah,
uh,
I liked it, and it made me teary. All my old bosses they're all dead. They've all died.
wow. That's
It's just a funny feeling. I'm only 60. I'm not that old.
no, you're not.
And, practically all Long John Baldry, he died some time ago. Doug Bennett, he died. Johnny, he's
Yeah,
passed. There's a
and
bunch of others less
considering
famous.
what you've been through with your health too, you look great for what you've been through.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel pretty good. Feel pretty good. I was almost dead there for a bit.
Yeah, that's. I still love the fact that you checked yourself out of the hospital for the last Spirit gig at the
Oh, for the
Commodore.
last two Spirit gigs, I almost didn't make it. Almost didn't make it to Vancouver. Almost didn't make it through the gigs. It was just really trying. It was tough, but we all had our things to face that weekend.
Well, I hate to. I have to get into some of the music stuff
Go
because
ahead.
um, one thing I always wanted to ask you, and I didn't ask you last time, with Spirit of the West not active really anymore, other than you said you're still a company or whatnot. Do you guys have anything in the vault that might see light of day?
not without a lot of work. There's
Yeah.
nothing sitting there mixed and ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would require quite a bit of post-production and reimagining and
Yeah.
using AI to lift vocals from this and place it into that, and it would
Okay.
be a massive thing. And I'm not certain that it would be worth the expense, to tell you the truth,
Yeah.
because the amount of money required in a studio to make these things come together,
Yeah.
ooh, like a lot of work.
I was even thinking about like live recordings maybe, and maybe
Yeah,
some videos of live shows that you did, or
we've got live recordings, but there are no multi-track live recordings.
okay.
There are ones of just stereo recordings that people have given to us. CBC, for example, gave us tapes and
Right.
said, "We recorded you at this show, and here you are." But you don't release a
Right.
unmastered two-track or whatever. It's got to be multi-track so you can adjust things. Live recordings can sound like an atrocity.
Yeah.
They sound so disappointing.
Yeah. There's so many, I guess, maybe someone who was working the mixing board probably recorded something on a tape, maybe.
Sometimes there's stuff off the board. There have been things through a recording, uh, like a 24 track mobile studio, but we didn't get the 24 track. We got a stereo master,
Right.
and you can't release that.
You can't do much with it either, I guess,
Can't do
either.
anything. Yeah, and really, I don't see the need of putting out something that's chock a block full of mistakes and guitars out of tune and
Right.
things getting unplugged and the screams of the crowd, and somebody heaves a water bottle at somebody else and get hit in the head, and I
It,
just don't see the need for
it's just something I had to ask because I always like to ask, because I'm hearing a lot of stuff coming out of the Tragically Hip camp since Gord passed away. They had that show at the Roxy from 1991 they just released, and it's incredible. Like it's really them in their early days, and really,
Yeah, when they were really gritty,
yeah.
all
It
and
had
tight.
finally a version of the Killer Whale Tank version of New Orleans is Sinking. I've always loved an actual decent recording of it, not just one taped off the radio or something. But they seem to
Yeah,
be really busy diving into they have quite a bit in their vault from what I'm hearing.
I think they were a very big band, and
Yeah.
their production was large and their crew was large. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't record every single big show they did.
Right.
It would have made sense if you've got a multi-track recording machine right there at front of house or just beside. You
Right.
can you can you can tape every single show you do and keep them in a vault, and you can go back and do stuff with them later. I mean, we never did that. We were just in and out like a fiddler's elbow, and it was just, you know, we didn't carry all that equipment. We were not filling up hockey rinks every single time.
Right.
We're a smaller band, and
But
when we did play
yeah.
with the hip, we opened for them.
Right.
So
Do you mind if I talk to you about some other music that I've been interested in lately?
oh
Have you heard the Trans Canada Highwaymen? There's some friends of yours in that band.
yeah, actually haven't heard the album. It's right there on Spotify, waiting for me to listen to it, and I haven't listened to it. But I mean, it's Stephen and Craig, and it's going to be good. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I bought it the day it came out. It's incredible stuff. Like
Yeah.
just to hear them play an old classic like that. And they all play every instrument, which is actually kind of funny
Oh,
too. Like
technical.
maybe not greatly, but they play every instrument.
I know Craig was telling me about how he was learning how to play proper rock and roll drums, but trying to keep his arms going for the whole song, he just tires out so quickly. You
Yeah.
know,
And your friend Pat Stewart seems to be really busy hanging around with Brian Adams for the
he's
past
doing.
few years.
He's back in the saddle with Brian. He was in the early days, and now he's back. He's replaced Mickey Curry, who I think has finally retired now,
Yeah.
and he's doing great, as you know he would, because he's a fantastic drummer. And I don't know, last time I talked to him, he was home. They were going to come over here and visit, and then they ended up going on the road. He didn't get time to come over, and I think he's in Spain. Is he in Spain right now?
I thought I saw something about Spain, but I thought I saw something about an American tour starting soon this year.
Yeah, oh yeah, but I mean, Adams tours incessantly.
Yeah, he's crazy.
He
But
loves it,
man,
and
he He's so good in that band though. Like they came to Summerside PEI 2 summers ago, and we had managed to get seats right up at the stage, and it was just something to be that close to them and see them play like that. And I was like looking at Pat. I've met that guy. It was really cool to say
Yeah,
that.
I mean, Pat is the perfect guy for that band. And one of the reasons for that is that he was in the band so early that he helped form the sound,
Yeah,
that everybody remembers. And now that he's back in the saddle, they go, oh, it sounds just like the old days. Well, there's a reason for that.
yeah, because he was there. He was there in the
He
formative
was
years. Yeah,
way back then. And we went down to a show in Victoria at Pat's invitation, and it was a great show. I mean, the place was chockers. The whole arena there wasn't a
right,
seat to be found, and uh, it was just great. It was really good. It was great to watch Pat, and it was great to see Pat on a big stage where there's not other equipment encroaching on him, so you
right.
can completely see him do his work. And every once in a while, a close camera shot on the big screen, and
Yeah.
it was very nice to see.
One more thing I want to bring up before I go, and this is something you might be able to, you probably can definitely give some input on. I've been doing a lot of studying about famous Canadian recording studios over history. I found a group on Facebook about the studio in Morin Heights, Quebec, about all the great albums and artists that came through there, Canadian
All
and
the Rush
international.
albums at the end,
The
yeah.
Rush albums. I'd like to do something about metalworks in Mississauga because that's my hometown. But I saw a documentary, I don't know who did, I think it might have actually been Global TV about Little Mountain Sound.
Oh, Little Mountain it's no longer the studio it once was. I
Yeah,
don't even know if it's functioning as it turned into rehearsal studios at the end, and we used that a few times. But it was already sort of winding down by the time I started doing a lot of studio work in Vancouver.
right.
So, but I mean, Aerosmith did a ton of albums there. AC/DC did a ton of albums there.
Bon Jovi.
Well, yeah, Bon Jovi.
Um,
Eventually, everybody started moving over to Brian Adams' studio, which is called the Warehouse.
okay,
That's down in on Water Street,
okay.
Gastown, and it's to me the best all around studio I've ever been in. I prefer to record there above all other places, anywhere in the world.
The other
So,
place I wanted to mention, my friend Dennis Ellsworth here in Charlottetown. He's a solo musician. He also plays in a Tragically Hip cover band, which are really good. He recorded his last album at the old Mushroom Studios
oh
in
yeah, we
Vancouver.
did a lot of work at Mushroom. It's I forget what they're calling it now. Is it Hippodrome now?
I think he
Or
said
they
something about
changed it
that.
yet
Yeah,
again. But I mean that it used to be Avalon Studios when it first became a studio, and like Diana Ross recorded there, for example.
really.
Supremes, yeah. So it goes way back, and I recorded like all the early Heart stuff was done there.
Hmm.
I recorded countless sessions at Mushroom. Spirit did a couple records at Mushroom.
Yeah. Well, Doug
It,
and the Slugs have recorded there too. I think anyone in Vancouver would have recorded at Mushroom at one
yeah, it
point.
was really popular in the late 70s and early 80s. Really, really popular.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really fascinated by these famous studios that Canada has. Like it's
we had a
just
lot of them. A lot of them. I recorded one or two tracks at the studio in Morin Heights.
oh really? That's right.
Oh yeah, back with when I was playing with Sue Medley. We just happened to
Okay.
be in that area near Montreal when we needed to do some extra tracks for her album, and we went in there and did some work, and it was really fun to do. Really fun because I was a big fan of Rush, and I always imagined what the studio would look like, and
Right.
it was wonderful. Just really nice to be there.
It's amazing the history in that building. Like I mean it's not there anymore. I got to see it when it was closed down years ago. Just to stand outside of it was actually quite an experience. And but everyone I've seen, they said it was a great place because you could stay there while you
Yeah,
were recording.
yeah,
And you could really, get away from everything and really
yeah.
focus on what you're doing. And
It was one of
in
the few world-class residential studios in Canada.
and it's literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
It's in
which
the middle
so
of the woods.
if you want to set up your 79-piece drum kit out by the pond, I guess you can do that, Neil.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. And that's speaking of Neil, the funny thing, and I mention this to everybody. I find it. I get sad because we lost Spirit, the Hip, and Rush all in the same year,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
bothered me because I think I include you guys with those two bands because I think you're just as important to Canada as those two guys were.
that's high praise, and I thank you. But I got to say, from my perspective, I felt the templates shifting. I felt like, oh,
Yeah,
the Canadiana we knew that we attached ourselves to, it's moving away, and the identity that
yeah,
bands in our class, that year or those years, um, we had a certain Canadianness that
yeah,
it's not as prevalent now. Now there's a lot more wannabe Americanness,
yeah.
and it just doesn't resonate with me. I'm proud to be a Canuck.
I found you guys were kind of carry on the thing Stomp and Tom was trying to do
Well, in our own way, yeah,
in your own
yeah,
way, and you because you were
yeah,
not shy about being Canadian and saying you
not
were
at all,
Canadian.
not at
Neither
all.
do
And you
you.
know who else were great, uh, like Stomp and Tom, is the Rios, the Rheostatics.
Oh, definitely. And
Were
Dave
great
Bedini
fans
himself
of
will
Stomp.
tell you how great Tom was.
Bedini loved him.
Yep. I've interviewed his manager a few times. His manager, have you heard of Brian Edwards before?
Yeah.
Out of Peterborough. He was inducted in the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame last year,
Hmm.
which is quite a feat. Um, he was the one that was really integral in getting Tom back into the music scene again. Um, but yeah, he made me aware. I didn't realize how many people in the industry, even in the States, were very big fans of Tom's.
Well, I mean, was there ever anybody else like him?
No, definitely
Like,
not.
and there never will be.
No, definitely not.
He was a much loved nut bar. Like
Absolutely.
kind of a little bit nutty and so adored and
Yeah,
so, oh my God, died in the old Canuck or what?
yeah. Oh,
Very, very cool. He was kind of like our Johnny Cash.
yeah, I would say so too. Like he was
Similar
definitely,
era as well.
yeah. One more thing before we say goodbye. How are the rest of the guys doing?
Everybody seems to be doing quite well. Everybody's good. We've got no new grandchildren on the way to report yet. Just my three.
Just your three.
Yeah.
Um, I saw an album released by Barney Bentall and Jeffrey recently,
Mhm.
an instrumental record.
Yeah.
Um, that
Yeah.
seems
I've got
pretty
it here
interesting.
somewhere, just right beside me somewhere on the
I
shelf.
downloaded it off of iTunes. It's very interesting. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Jeffrey sent me a copy in the mail, which was very lovely. I don't have a CD player.
well,
If you can believe that.
that's one of the things I've really been trying to push with this group and what I've been doing is that, yeah, I'm interviewing guys that were, big back in the day, but I also like to push the fact that they're still making music today and it's just as good as what they made years ago.
Well, I think that in some cases it's in some ways it's better. Like there are more excellent, educated young musicians now
Yeah,
than ever before, and they're just not getting on the radio.
yeah.
They're not gonna.
You
They're
got to
not
search it
gonna.
out yourself.
No, you got to be beautiful and agreeable and signed to a major record label, and then they spend the money on all of the promotion to get you on the radio and to
Yeah,
keep you there. But if you're a young kid with a group that has 3 or 4 excellent songs on an EP, so what? Who
they don't
cares?
care. Yeah,
Nobody cares. Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna be
Because
busking till you're 40.
I remember seeing Barney Bentall in Ontario a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I bought his latest CD at the show, and it's probably one of the best CDs I've heard in a long time.
There you
Like
go.
he's still writing and making excellent music even today.
Yeah, and he's a lovely man.
Yeah,
He's a really lovely. He's so liked because it's so deserved.
yeah,
He's a really incredibly warm-hearted guy.
and makes great. He's such a great music, and I enjoyed meeting him as well. He was fantastic. But he had nothing but nice things to say about you guys, because I guess he's grown up around you guys too in the music
Well, we
industry.
grew up around him. He and Jeffrey are great buddies.
Yeah,
So they go, I mean, I think Jeffrey's friendship with him goes back before music.
yeah.
So, you know,
Well, it's good to
they,
hear you guys are all doing well. I'm excited about your new book and finishing the trilogy. Yep, show them again.
the Vicar
Absolutely.
Vortex, the
I can't wait.
finale, book 3 of 3. And then maybe there'll be more, but I don't know yet.
I hope so. I hope
Open
so.
up. Dundurn Press, available February 27th in Canada.
Absolutely. I will be picking that up as soon as I find it.
Later worldwide, probably in April worldwide.
Thank you for joining me again, Vince. It's great to talk to you again.
Great to talk to you.
All right. Take
Have a
care,
great
sir.
new year.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.